It felt like Dad always knew. The car wouldn't start. Minutes later, it did. The lawnmower died. By evening, it was running again. The television lost its picture. Somehow, it came back. As kids, we never questioned it. Broken things vanished into the garage and returned working. Looking back, that's the strange part. These weren't the same problems. They weren't even the same machines. A car, a bicycle, a refrigerator, a leaking pipe. Yet one person seemed to understand them all. Most of these men weren't engineers. Many never went to college. Yet they could diagnose a bad starter, rebuild a carburetor, repair a washing machine, and bring worn tools back to life. So where did that knowledge come from? Were fathers really smarter back then? Or did they grow up in an America that taught skills most people have now forgotten? The answer begins in a world that has almost disappeared. Most of those fathers learned long before they owned a house or raised a family. Many grew up at a time when almost everything could be repaired. Cars were simpler. Appliances could be opened. Parts could be replaced instead of discarded. A broken toaster wasn't automatically replaced. A damaged bicycle wasn't thrown away. Someone took it apart and figured out what went wrong. And children were often right there watching. They handed over tools. They held flashlights. They listened to conversations in garages, basements, and workshops. Little by little, they learned how things worked. Not from classes, not from manuals, from years of seeing problems solved with their own eyes. By the time these boys became fathers themselves, they had already spent decades around repairs, tools, and practical skills. What looked like natural talent was usually experience built one small lesson at a time. The real difference was simple. Back then, replacing things was expensive. For many families, a broken appliance wasn't an inconvenience. It was a problem that had to be solved. A new refrigerator could cost months of savings. A repair bill could ruin a carefully planned budget. Even small purchases were often delayed until payday. So people learned to stretch the life of everything they owned. They repaired, adjusted, rebuilt, improvised. A loose belt wasn't replaced immediately. A worn tool wasn't thrown away. A weak engine wasn't abandoned. It was kept running for one more season, one more year, sometimes much longer. That's why garages mattered so much. They weren't just places to park a car. They were workshops, classrooms, and problem-solving centers. And every repair taught another lesson. Over time, those lessons turned ordinary men into people who seemed able to fix almost anything. But something else was happening in those garages. They weren't just places where things got repaired. They were places where knowledge was passed down. A father might not sit his son down for a lesson. He didn't need to. The lesson was happening every weekend, while changing a tire, while adjusting an engine, while fixing a fence or repairing a broken tool. Children watched. They listened. They learned how to stay calm when something went wrong. They learned that most problems could be solved if you were willing to take them apart and understand them. And those lessons went far beyond machines. They shaped the way people approached life. When something broke, you didn't panic. You looked for an answer. When something became difficult, you didn't quit. You worked through it. That's why so many people remember their fathers as men who could fix anything. Often, what they were really remembering was confidence, patience, and experience. The repair itself was only part of the story. Today, many of those garages are quiet. The tools are still there. The workbenches are still there. But the lessons often stopped with the generation that learned them. That's why so many people remember those fathers so vividly. They didn't just repair broken things. They taught patience, responsibility, confidence, and perhaps that's the real reason they seemed able to fix anything. They taught themselves first, then taught the people who were watching.